Hi everyone, my name is Sanjay Prasad Aulaiki Prakas, metric number BC2543-8. So, what exactly happened? In December 2011, the Malaysian Ministry of Defence awarded a 9 billion ringgit contract to Boosted Naval Shipyard, or BNS, to construct 6 littoral combat ships, or LCS, for the Royal Malaysian Navy. The objective was simple. It was to modernize Malaysia's naval capabilities and strengthen our country's maritime defense. However, these cases highlight major weaknesses in corporate governance, transparency, accountability, financial management, and project oversight. We will analyze the causes of these failures, examine governance issues involved, discuss the important lesson that can improve future public sector procurement.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good evening. My name is Idrisani bin Saiful Azwar and my matrix number is Bravo Charlie 254259. So, we will start from the beginning. In December 2011, the Defence Ministry of Malaysia awarded 9.13 billion ringgit to Boosted Naval Shipyard Sdn Bhd for the construction of 6 littoral combat ships LCS with the help from the French naval company DCNS. This is a part of the effort in renewing the Royal Malaysian Naval's arsenal. The contract between the Defence Ministry, Boosted Naval Shipyard Sdn Bhd and DCNS was signed in 2014. The first ship will supposedly be delivered in April of 2019, with the 5 other ships delivered in 6-month intervals. However, there is still not a single ship that left the dock and sailed across the sea with pride. Many high-profile names were involved in this case, such as the former Prime Minister Datuk Najib Abdul Razak and the former Defence Minister Ahmad Zahid Hamidi. Pakatan Harapan has demanded both of them to take the responsibility in this case, but both denied the claims and put the blame on them instead, the Pakatan Harapan, for the delays. Since we are in the topic of LCS Maharaja Lela, this vessel was actually unveiled in 2017 at Lumut, Perak during the naming ceremony. Many speculations say that the vessel that was present during the ceremony is not the actual ship, but rather a dupe or merely just a replica. However, today, 6.08 billion ringgit have been spent. 1 out of 6 ships is on the last testing stage before being commissioned into the Royal Malaysian Navy fleet, which is the LCS Maharaja Lela.
Now I'll move on the application of the concept and theories. Based on the previous studies, the main issue behind the LCS scandal were weak monitoring, poor corporation governance, and lack of accountability. These problems contributed to the project delays and cost overruns. To better understand why this happened, we will look at the 3 theories, which is agency theory, principal-agent theory, and guild-guard corruption theory. First is agency theory. This theory explains the relationship between principal and agent. Basically, the principal gives authority and resources to the agent and carry out a task. In LCL project, the government was the principal because it provided the funding, while the Boosted Naval Shipyard, or BNS, was the agent responsible for building the 6 littoral combat ships. The problem is that according to the PAC report, around 6.08 billion ringgit had already been spent, but not a single ship was completed. This showed that the agency failed to fulfill its responsibility, making agency theory a suitable explanation for the governance and accountability issue in this project. Next, the principal-agent theory. This theory focuses on more monitoring and oversight. Even if responsible has been delegated, the principal still needs to monitor the agent to make sure everything stays on track. In this case, BNS received a contract in 2011 and was supposed to deliver 6 ships between 2019 and 2023, with 1 ship completed every 6 months. However, that didn't happen. Only one ship reached partial completion while others were delayed. This suggests that the monitoring and accountability mechanism were weak, allowing the project to fall behind without effective intervention. So we'll move to the last theory, which is the Kierkegaard corruption theory. According to the Kierkegaard, corruption is more likely to happen when there is monopoly power, high discretion, and low accountability. In an LCS project, many important decisions were made by the governments and BNS instead of Royal Malaysian Navy, even though the Navy was the end user. In fact, the Chief of Navy later described that this decision as gravely wrong. The pact also found although 6.08 billion ringgit had already been paid, only one ship was 44% completed, while the others were 16 and 35%, and one ship hadn't even started. So this case clearly shows that how much the decision-making power combined with the weak accountability can create opportunities for corruption and the misuse of public funds. So overall, these three theories help us understand the root of causes of the LCS scandal. They show that weak governance, poor monitoring, and limited accountability were key factors that contribute to the project failure. That's all for me.
The second one, we move on to timeline collapse and project delays. The first one is original timeline, where the project was supposed to start during 2015, where the construction began with the target of delivering the first vessel by April 2019, followed by 6-month intervals throughout 2023. However, there's operational control failures that occurred, where the Auditor General and BNS internal audits revealed a complete absence of monitoring mechanisms. And the outcome? The timeline was completely derailed and resulted in 0 ships delivered by 2022-2023. Thirdly is the financial mismanagement and decoupling. Decoupling means the decoupling of funds where a massive milestone payments were paid out to the contractor despite a total lack of physical progress on the ships. And from this incident, we can see that the money was laundered somewhere else. And next is the ineffective capital allocation, where audits confirm project capital was swallowed by internal inefficiencies and potential fund diversions. And the worst case corporate scenario, where the project entered an endless overrun cycle, an expanding budget paired with static production. Fourth is the legal fallout and investigations. Shift to the legal political crisis, where the issue transitioned from a mere management failure to a major national scandal when brought to Parliament. And the MACC intervened, which is the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. They targeted the procurement process, focusing on contract awards, purchasing decisions, and cash flows. And that's where they find there's a systemic corruption, where the findings strongly point toward deep conflicts of interest and substantial abuse of power, rather than simple incompetence. Lastly is the political fallout and public pressure. Once the scandal was brought into Parliament, there occurred the political finger pointing, where coalitions used the crisis political leverage, where Pakatan Harapan blamed the administration that signed the contract, and Barisan Nasional blamed subsequent transition delays. And then intense public pressure ultimately forced the government to declassify secret forensic audits. And the consequences is the fallout led directly to the government pursuing criminal charges against key individuals involved.
My name is Nur Alia binti Harayo. My metric number is BC253603. So one of the key insights from this case is that corporate governance is much more than just monitoring finances. While financial controls are important, they also alone cannot prevent organizational failure. So effective governance also requires ethical leadership, transparency, and accountability. Leaders must ensure that decisions are made responsibly and in the best interest of stakeholders. In the busted naval shipyard case, the issue went beyond financial management, highlighting weaknesses in governance practice and oversight mechanism. This shows that strong governance creates a culture of responsibility and helps organizations identify problems before they become major crises. The second critical insight is that weak monitoring can create agency problem. In this case, the government did not adequately monitor Bastard Naval Shipyard's performance and progress. As a result, there was lack of oversight, which led to misaligned objectives, poor project performance, and limited accountability. Without effective monitoring, management may pursue goals that do not align with stakeholder interests. This demonstrates the importance of continuous supervision and clear accountability structures to ensure that organizational objectives are achieved efficiently and transparently.
Moving on onto a conclusion, the littoral combat ship scandal was not simply about delays or rising costs. More importantly, it reflected a systemic failure in corporate governance, oversight, accountability, and project management. Despite a contract worth 9 billion ringgit, the project failed to deliver a single operational vessel within the planned timeline. From our analysis, we identified four major governance issues. First, the project was awarded through a direct negotiation instead of an open and competitive tender process. Second, monitoring and milestone verification were weak, allowing problems to continue for years without effective intervention. Third, financial oversight was inadequate, as large payments were released despite limited physical process. Finally, the operational requirement of the Royal Malaysian Navy, the end user, were not given sufficient priority throughout the project. Overall, these cases demonstrate how weak governance can result in enormous financial losses, damage public confidence, and reduce the nation's defense capability.